Welcome to the SNI Podcast. I'm your host, Cheryl Lutomsky. With deep roots in the Canadian regulatory landscape for the last 18 years, SNI has helped hundreds of companies get on the shelf quickly and compliantly so that they can sell more and grow their brands. On this show, you'll hear stories from SNI's clients, plus the team's insights on how to overcome your biggest compliance issues and create a standout brand in the food and natural wellness space. The SNI Podcast is your source for market compliance. Now, on to the episode. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm joined by the Director of Client Optimization, Leanne Lutomsky, also known as my better half. And we have an amazing guest on the show, one of SNI's clients, owner and CEO of Cranked Energy, Cheryl Zealand. Cheryl, Leanne, welcome to the show.
Hello, hello.
Hello, thank you.
Nice to see you guys.
Cranked Energy bars are amazing.
Thank you.
A guilty pleasure. Amazing. I guess maybe, well, it's only guilty when I have like 5 a day, I guess.
Is there a limit? I don't know. I guess there has to be.
So for starters, why don't you talk a little bit about the company?
Sure. Cranked Energy was born in 2014 out of my just casually tinkering around the kitchen, 3 small children at home. I was not really comfortable with what was on the shelf for myself for grab-and-go protein bars and just decided to start making them in my kitchen for myself and the family. And 3 years later, 72 recipes later, I had something that actually was edible and didn't taste like chalk and actually tasted really good, and just handed it out to a few people, and then a retailer picked it up because, you know, it's Winnipeg and someone knows someone who shares something, and all of a sudden my text was going. Mm-hmm. So then it kind of turned into a side hustle, which then turned into a full-time gig after 5 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
So take me back even before Cranked Energy was a thing. What were you doing beforehand? What was your life like before? And then essentially, why did you make that decision to then make this your full-time?
Well, I'm a CPA by trade, so I was working in accounting and finance, facilitating for the CPA School of Business. I loved it. I was home with the kids. It was a contract position. I'd left my position as a manager at KPMG in assurance. I loved that too, but the corporate grind was starting to get to me. So my first mat leave, I started facilitating. It was a bit more flexible. And that was, you know, steady income. I was home with the kids. I could mark papers and teach when the kids were napping. And then this happened, and it snowballed. And I'm so passionate about health and wellness and really good quality food, especially protein bars. It's kind of, I've eaten them forever since I was young, power bars, everything growing up. So it was natural for me to flow into that. I didn't expect it to actually become my full-time gig. I thought one day I'd probably go back to public practice or into industry as a CPA, but this kind of took over, and I'm actually pretty grateful it did. Even it's a totally different stress level and busyness, but it's fueled by a passion, so sometimes it doesn't actually feel like work.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's what you'd want from your business, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and the way you're kind of framing it, it makes it almost sound like it was easy, but clearly there's a lot of work involved. Like you mentioned, like there's a lot of different recipes and stuff. Can you talk a little bit about that work to finally make this idea see the light of day and get it to a point where it could be your full-time gig?
Well, I think one of the biggest things I talk about is just the consistency. Every single month I was trying new things just to make a protein bar for my family. Mm-hmm. And trying different protein powders and different ingredients and a little bit more of this. It was just this tinkering process with no intention of coming to market. But as it slowly came together and it was really good, and I saw the response from people who ate it. And I think that's when it really clicked. Like there's a hole in the market for the refrigerated protein bar space where a bar can come out of there and look really good in its packaging and then, oh my goodness, taste just as good. Because that's usually the letdown is great packaging, beautiful marketing, and then you taste it and like, kind of tastes okay. It's food, but it's not something I want to go back and eat every single day. And that's where I really wanted to do this properly. And if I was going to do this as my full-time gig and give up my profession, my benefits, my stability, that it was going to have to be something worth doing.
Mm-hmm. Why, I guess, what sets Cranked Energy bars apart from all the other competition? Because like you said, like there's tons of selections to pick from. What makes this so unique where you would want your customers purchasing from you?
Well, I think we're different because we don't actually taste like a protein bar, like one you'd expect. Mm-hmm. You know, the stigma is that it's chalky tasting, or if it says it's cookies and cream and you open it and it's just brown mush. Like it's
I
just,
was going to say
right?
brown mush.
And then you open ours and, oh my God, there's an actual cookie on it because it's about balance. And a tiny bit of cookie with a really high quality protein bar is kind of the best of both worlds. And we always wanted to be a lifestyle bar where, busy executives, busy moms is how I started out, with not a lot of options for grab and go, could grab it and feel really good eating it and enjoy kind of our flavor lineup, because we grew from peanut butter coconut, which is still one of our top sellers, and it's almost a decade old. But now we've got 17 different flavors. So
17?
I know. Yeah, we've got a core lineup of 6, and then we've got 11 specialty flavors. We release one almost every month.
Wow, that's insane. So you're growing rapidly. I think when we were talking before, you said you're in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, Ontario, a little bit in BC now too. What essentially happened with your growth, the growth of the business, that really started getting you thinking about repackaging and labeling, nutrition facts tables, and going down the path of chatting with SNI?
Well, from day one, we were using the clear food grade packaging with a sticker.
That's right.
It was very simple. It's what I could afford at the time. People responded to the clear packaging. It kind of grew us because our bar was so good. So it was almost, to me, like the packaging, we're throwing it out. I don't have the money to do it, but I know what's coming. I always knew what was coming, to go next level, more of a national looking brand, and get on the shelves of some more retailers outside of our province was going to take some serious work and a level up on our packaging and our branding in general. So I knew that was coming. But when I really saw people saying no to us because of the packaging, I love your product, but, we're not really, really happy. We don't love the packaging. That's when it was like, I think it's time. And then COVID hit. And it gave me an opportunity to really focus on what am I going to do with this time where we're not as crazy busy as we used to be. We've got, I was working crazy hours. We were having revenue because we could still sell. And what am I going to use that for? What am I going to use the profits for? And that was a no-brainer. And we reached out to Source to start this process.
That's exciting.
Ooh, yeah, it was
process.
exciting. But you know what? When you're told no, your product's amazing, but... Yeah, I knew that all along. It wasn't going to be a long-term thing, but I was dragging my heels. I just was. And it's an overwhelming project for a CPA who has no experience in industry of food. I didn't even know where to start. I didn't know where to look to. I didn't know how much it was going to cost. I didn't know if I could even get the information and the backup needed to do this, right? What suppliers do I have that I can pull from that are going to give me the right information to do this properly? And then you're going from a really simple label to a really detailed label, and that's scary too. Like, what's my label going to look like after this process is done, right? And so you got to think of all that stuff. And so fear definitely it kept me from going all in. But when you're told no.
You were also I guess someone talked to you about your current packaging too, right? You're given sort of a warning on that.
We were tattled on by someone, whoever it was. Thank you. I mean, that's what should happen in the food industry, right? We're regulated for a reason, and we want stuff that's on the shelf to represent things in the package, represent what's on the label. So you're trusting of a brand. And when someone kind of said, their label is definitely not up to standards, then we're like, we know, and we're working on it, and it's coming out, and it's going to be bang spot on. All 17 flavors are getting done. So I think while I say tattle, it was
very helpful.
And the no's from retailer stores, all that kind of grew to a point where it was like, all right, like the universe is telling me, get this done now.
Yeah. And before you started chatting with SNI, you tried to go on the government website and try to figure it out for yourself. How did that go?
I think I tried 3 times.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's a overwhelming amount of information, but in your brain, you're like, I can figure this out. Yeah. Like, it's government stuff. We'll just read through and tick. No. And plus, I'm also trying to grow the business and manage my team and do our volunteer work and our community initiatives that I'm passionate about. And sorry, Leanne, but this labeling stuff does not fuel my passion. It's not lighting a fire under me, and I would get grumpy and anxious. And I thought, no, this is where I always tell people to hire professional accountants, CPAs, when they're not financially savvy. Well, same thing. I'm like, why am I not doing the same thing that I tell people to do? So yeah, I was kind of being a hypocrite there.
So you made it to SNI, you've met Leanne. Can you both like walk me through that process of getting the nutrition facts tables and sort of the work involved in getting that all done?
Yeah, definitely. So it wasn't easy at the start, for sure. And to your point about, waiting maybe and keep getting those no's, we see that often. It's really not surprising. Starting the brand, if you can get away with what you're doing, I mean, we don't really push that it has to be changed right away. Really, it's a risk assessment at that point. But when you do decide to make that change to really become fully compliant and label properly, coming to us is a great decision. So Cheryl came to us. It was a bit painful. I mean, honestly, we have to get so much detail. You're coming and trying to define what you need for nutrition facts tables. So formulation, of course you have. When we're sharing that, and it's obviously confidential with our team who's working on the product reviews. But the raw material information, I think, was the big struggle, right? Getting huge amounts of details from all of your suppliers.
Well, when you have suppliers that are not large, you're not buying bulk from some suppliers because you're using such little amounts of it. That was really hard. But you were so patient with me and so detailed. You would send me like lists of like stuff highlighted in different colors of what was missing and low risk, high risk. And like, I love spreadsheets, so I was all for it. But that was, and I was telling my friend Jill, who helped me along this process, how important that was for someone who's running a business and stressed a bit about this whole process. You were never judgmental about, the label itself, which is huge because I knew it was kind of, but you were like, let's work through this. Let's get this done. This is what I need. This is where you can look. How about you try this? This is what's going to happen. It was so easy, and I don't know why I was so fearful of it. I think that's maybe a small business thing, right?
Well, it's overwhelming, honestly, and the fact that you tried to look stuff up too. It is super overwhelming. It's just because our team does it every day, day in, day out. We've also seen, inspector feedback from Canadian Food Inspection Agency or CFIA. So we've seen common issues. We know how to avoid it, right? So when we do give, risk assessments, and we see a lot of different things all the time. So there's no room for judgment really in this industry. We just work to make it better.
And what I loved was, I thought, we put chocolate chip on the label, and Leanne's like, well, we actually have to put what's in the chocolate chip now. And that was huge though, because
that's interesting. You couldn't just list chocolate chip.
No. And
really?
But I thought, well, that's what we were doing, and it's chocolate chip. Who doesn't know that it's milk, sugar, whatever in it? But no, you need full information on all that stuff, which makes the label nice and long. And then we've got the translation, which you guys did as well, the translation for Canada into French. Again, all that stuff, sure, you can try to do that yourself, but I was so happy that I had full confidence that what was coming out from here, I didn't have to worry about. It was going to go on the shelf. And then we signed some major retailers with our new packaging, because it's what they're looking for. And they know that it's been done properly and all the disclosures are right there. There's not much to worry about.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shock sometimes seeing coming from the label you previously had where, perhaps some of the components were missing. And now we're telling you, okay, well, you do have to declare it. In some cases, there's some exemptions here, but not for things like protein powder, which was a big one. Chocolate chips, same thing. I mean, the fact that there's so much innovation, it kind of makes sense that you would have to declare components. Like chocolate chips now could honestly not even contain chocolate anymore in a way. They shouldn't be labeled as chocolate chips, but let's say chocolate-style chips, and they're actually vegan, and they're actually containing maybe a sweetener, an artificial sweetener, or something like that. And knowing that consumers can sometimes react differently to some of those components, that would be why you'd have to actually declare it on the label. So part of our work was going through, every single spec sheet, looking at every component within the ingredients that you're using, even confirming levels of use, right? Like food additives would have an upper limit sometimes. Things like any type of sweeteners do have limits of use, and they're only allowed in certain ingredients to begin with. So that all came down to that, first formulation review, where, we were able to walk through it. We try to make it as simple as possible, though, of course, there's tons of detail needed. But after that, I mean, it was smoother sailing, I'd say. And
well, once the label came back exactly kind of with the macros breakdown how I thought it was going to be, because I had done it myself, that was like peace of mind. Like, we're on the right track. We're just going to like get it to where it's totally properly disclosed. I always think more disclosure is better for people. We notice a lot at our sampling, people turn it right over to the label now because they're looking for one specific thing that they can't have. You know, it might be stevia, it might be certain, I don't know, whatever.
Well, any type of allergen even.
Yeah, that's the first thing they
Soy.
do. And it's so important for liability purposes in a food industry, coming from a financial industry where you don't think about that stuff. But when you're consuming someone's product, the last thing we want to do is someone ever to be like, I didn't think that was in your bars. It's like, oh.
Well, priority allergens are one thing. Yeah, milk, soy. I mean, that from U.S. to Canada is mostly similar now, but any little detail in an ingredient.
Sesame seeds are too, right?
They are an allergen,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, who would have known that? I mean, I didn't know sesame seeds have to be disclosed now as an allergen.
Interestingly, though, so coconut in the U.S. is a priority allergen, but not in Canada yet.
Really?
Interesting.
Difference.
And all our bars have coconut. Yeah. So if we do it for the U.S., the label's going to change. We were talking about that recently. As we grow in Canada and look at exporting into the U.S., then it's going to be an entire new project for us and Source together to make the label U.S. compliant.
Exactly.
Can't just put our label into the U.S. right now.
Yeah, a big thing with U.S., I mean, would be the bilingual labeling. Luckily, you don't need it, bilingual in the U.S., which helps a bit for just overall design. We see, brands typically like that one language only. It's a bit cleaner. But for sure, we still look at common name, make sure it's still appropriate for the U.S. market. The net quantity declaration even, sometimes you won't think about that, but there's metric versus imperial measure. But ingredients themselves would be declared differently. They'd be formatted differently. The nutrition facts panel will look different. Like it is, it's not just a matter of sometimes, coming from U.S. to Canada, it's just, people think it's just translation. But there's a lot more to it. Kind of same with going the other way.
Yeah, different regulations, different nuances. Yeah.
And you guys did our boxes too, so not just the packaging, but then the boxes were a whole project as well, making sure I kept pushing you on things like, do I have to have the label on the box? We have like 11 random flavors in one box for it. How do we get around? And you guys were so good trying to help us piece together like a blank panel with a sticker then based on the flavor we're putting in there. But that the box had to have a nutrition label of what was inside.
Interesting.
Yeah, which I didn't know either. These are just these nuances as a small business growing that you don't think about, and then you don't want to get pulled off the shelf. That's a ton of money and it's not good for your brand. So putting the money in that kind of stuff. And when we launched, even though it took 8 months or a year almost to get it start to finish, it was a complete package. And we might have a few tweaks on the next round, but the response has been so great.
That's awesome. And let's talk a little bit about, I know we always talk about how SNI has this full service in-house under the creative services team, but you did use another agency for the design portion of the labels as well. Leanne, can you talk a little bit about the relationship between you and the other agency, how you guys work together to get that final product?
For sure, yeah. We do, we work well with others, I'd say, our team. We're
Yes,
pretty
you're very
easy to
friendly.
get along with. So no matter if, we're using SNI services for the full solution or just parts of it, it always ends up working well. So we can take, design work from another agency. We can assist with disclosing the regulations needed, helping with the formatting, the type size, making sure once that the regulatory aspect, the ingredients, nutrition facts panel, as we talked about, they're put on the packaging properly once it's all designed. So it's not just us telling you this is, the must-haves. Of course, you still want the design to look good. You still want your branding there. And then sending it back to us at the end to really just confirm again, everything is placed where it has to be. Sometimes there's certain stuff that has to be on the front. Certain stuff cannot be on the bottom. So things to consider.
And font size.
Font size is a
like
big
the
one.
amount of emails on font size blew my mind. I think at one point I said to the design firm, and you just, if I need to be on these emails, put me on. But like, you guys got it under control. Remove me from this because it was making me so anxious that, it was just this, oh my God, something else. But that's how detailed you guys were working together, and I trusted both. Like for me as a CEO to remove myself from that process speaks volumes, I think, because I had other stuff I had to get done, and I was like, you guys have it under control. I'm totally not worried about it.
Yeah.
I was not capable of
That's
handling
fair.
the amount. But it was, like font size, placement, what must be on the box, where you can put the little snowflake refrigeration sign. Like,
really?
Yeah, like they're so
detailed.
smart. I don't know. She's like, we should have been an actuary too, right? Maybe. That's how detailed you are. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Those little nuances are wild. I know you and I talk a lot about those little things that we don't realize. We're at home looking at package labels and Leanne's assessing them too.
I was going to say,
this
do
is
you
our
do
fun
that?
evening conversation. Yeah.
You take something out and be like, let's look if they're compliant.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about the serving size? I know that was something that we see a lot as well. With cranked energy bars, it's a little bit more straightforward. It's 1 bar as the serving size. What are you seeing from some clients trying to get around those or maybe doing something that isn't compliant that they don't even know?
Yeah. Serving sizes are kind of a hot topic sometimes. And really, the US and Canada both have reference amounts. Those are government set reference amounts. It is supposed to be used to determine the accurate serving size for a product. So one thing that we see, and it drives me crazy, is a pouch or a bag with just random assortment of pieces within it. So think of like some sort of chocolate bark or toffee pieces. And whether they started the same size or not, they're going to end up broken into different size pieces, whether that's through just transportation. So one thing that comes up often is you look at the package, you turn it over, you'll see per piece, 30 grams. Okay, you'll take it out of the package. There's one piece that's this big, one piece that's this big. And as a consumer, how would you possibly know which one is that 30-gram representation?
You don't pull out your scale.
Yeah, my little handy scale on
your
the
kitchen
side.
scale right there out of your purse.
Some probably do.
Yeah.
I don't even do that. I don't really even know which one's the 30 grams. So, and I work with this all the time, but having that kind of level of, I don't even know that that's detail, but really just thinking of from a consumer point of view. So then our team does go to the reference amounts set by the government, and we'd see something like, okay, it's a non-uniform piece of candy, let's say. It actually should be declared as either a centimeter, 3 centimeters by 3 centimeters, to give consumers maybe a bit more indication which piece is more accurately represented by that nutrition information that's shown. Or something that we often recommend is just per a portion of the package itself. So you have a 90-gram bag. You want to get to a 30-gram serving, we can declare per 1/3 package. Because then again, you're eating it. It's your little chocolate snack at the end of the night. Okay, if you want to stay within that nutrition facts table serving, you're going to eat that 1/3 package. If you eat it all, well, you're timesing it by 3, right?
Yeah.
Guilty.
Too. Yeah.
When you eat the whole bag and you're like, oh, there's 4 servings in there. I had to search for that little detail on the label, but...
Yeah, so there, little nuances like that might not think about it when you're designing. You think, it's a piece. We'll call it 30 grams, and we'll put it on the package. It's your business.
You're in it. You're not really even thinking about that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
What if Cheryl wanted to say like a serving size was a half bar? What would she have to do with her packaging to make that okay?
Yeah, there's some ways you could make it probably okay. Otherwise, if the reference amount is, remind me what the size of your bar is.
75
gram.
Yeah.
So let's
70,
say,
I don't even know.
Yeah,
it's always a full bar.
Right.
Who eats a half bar?
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Who eats one full bar? Right?
Who only eats one?
Who doesn't eat more than
3 or 4 bars?
No, but it's a good question because we do have customers that it's very filling. It's a filling bar, and they do have half and then put the other half away for later. So it's a valid question that.
Right. So in that case, if the reference amount for a bar, you have to kind of assess the table and see what category the product fits into. Like your product it's a bar, it'd probably be, I don't even know that there's a protein bar category, but let's say it's granola type nutrition bar.
I think we're labeled as like a nut-based bar.
Yeah, peanut-based. Mm-hmm. So let's say that's 40 grams is the reference amount per Health Canada. Now, since let's say your 75-gram bar, you're within that 200% that Health Canada says you need to declare the full bar.
Oh, see, I wouldn't know 200%.
200% is kind of the key here because as a consumer, as we've said, it's easy to eat the full bar. Mm-hmm. You don't have to, but it's saying that in one serving, it's pretty logical, pretty understandable that a consumer could eat a full bar in one sitting. So they would expect you to put for 1 bar. Really, anything else is not compliant at this point. And then going into having it, it's one package, it's not resealable. There's a couple additional factors there that would really make it hard to justify a half bar serving size compliantly. But if you're at, the 80 grams, now it's a toss-up because you're at the exact 200%. Like there's some gray area. Then we, in that case, would just help assess any risk, if any. We've seen it argued, though, too, by CFIA that even at maybe 90 grams, still could somebody eat it in one serving in one meal? Yeah, sure. So I think they would expect it to be per one bar still, right? Because it's not resealable. There's no indication that you should be only eating half. If it was a bar with a divider line down the middle with a little zipper, you could easily
So
make
are
the
you
point.
like reading regulatory
Just
like
in
at
my-
night?
yeah.
Like are you downloading podcasts on
I wish there were more
How do you-
regulatory podcasts.
Or Justin, I'm just taking over the interview here. How do you keep up? This stuff fascinates me because of the work you did with us. Like I was mind blown at all the information that must come at you to decipher and keep up to date on, just as a CPA with new regulations in accounting, but I don't practice as much anymore. So are you reading stuff constantly? Are people send you things?
Yeah, I mean, we're immersed in it. And it's not just me. I appreciate the kind words. We do have a full team. They are very good, to my level or more, honestly. So we do stay up to date. We looked at newsletters. There's tons of industry-type newsletters. There's the guidance from Health Canada themselves. Yes, I do definitely read. They send updates. There's new regulations all the time. But just being in this environment, working in it every day, working with our food team, we have those discussions. I mean, you think I'm passionate about it, we're all that way. We have the good discussions. We can go back and forth and challenge each other. And the things that we see from our, big assortment of clients also helps. The real life examples. We're not just starting this out.
So what's coming up the pipe? Do you know of anything that's going to be, that you can say that's going to be coming out for us consumer packaged goods peeps that we're going to have to watch out for?
And this is going to be a bigger discussion. We should probably have a call.
Oh.
But
Excellent.
So front of pack labeling is coming out with a compliance date in 2026.
Interesting.
It's
so
really-
you have to have like a nutritions thing on a facts table on the front?
The front of pack is a symbol, and it really affects products who have, there's a threshold. For most products, it's going to be 15%, so let's work with that. But note that there are other thresholds for different types of products. But a bar such as yours would have that 15% threshold. And the key nutrients that Health Canada has declared as front of pack worthy, I guess, of a caution, saturated fat, sugars, and sodium. So products on the shelf that do have more than 15% of that daily value, so you're looking at the nutrition facts table on the back, 15% for saturated fat, sugars, sodium, has to have now a front of pack symbol saying high in.
Oh.
So how are they distinguishing between refined sugar and natural sugars?
They're not. It's total sugars.
Is that a concern?
It could, yeah, no,
I mean,
there's-
like we use honey molasses in our bars, right? So great natural sugars. So that, as a consumer packaged goods company, that's something that we want to start thinking about. It's got 3 years to think about it.
Right, and you think about sugar grouping and how that is a newer regulation still in Canada. And with your packaging even, we had to group the sugars-based ingredients. So even though they're honey, they're molasses, they're good sources of sugars, we had to group them. We see it being an issue with our clients sometimes because they don't necessarily want consumers looking and saying, ingredients, sugars. That's now the first one. If they're grouped together and they are the largest percentage by weight now, the top ingredient. And it did lead to some reformulations with some of our clients, or maybe switching from those natural sugars to an artificial sweetener, right? Just to keep sugars from being top. But that's not necessarily the right answer.
So this
Interesting.
stuff fascinates me in general, food and the regulations.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
So all the work that you did with SNI, how has that sort of set you up for success in the future?
Well, we're launching across Canada. We were at our first large food show, the CHFA show, and we're talking to distributors. They love the packaging, love the bar, love the branding, which, I mean, when you hear that from a major distributor, Canadian distributor, you're just like, wow, we did it. We did it right? Like, and other brands, big brands with super cool branding and packaging coming by our little booth and being like, I love your brand. And we've never seen anything like that for protein bars. It's so fun, colorful, makes sense. So look, we're in the middle of the prairies here, and we pulled out something which was original and fun and spot on regulatory wise. I think that was always the goal from the start. I'm super open and honest, and I love making sure our customers know what they're eating. It's on the package. I didn't like that we were basic before, even though it got us to this point. It never felt like, that was not going to be the long-term goal, was we had to do everything right. And I don't want to get pulled from the shelf ever. That would be a huge amount of work and money just to avoid having something detailed out or some disclosure.
For sure, which is a big impact to a small business owner, for sure. Is there anything specific that you can fill us in on that we can see from Cranked in the future? Or is it all hush-hush?
No, I announced it. Oh, no, yeah, I was talking about this to you. No, we announced it. So we just signed a partnership with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Oh, right on.
Which is also, thank you, I think, to our package rebrand and what it looks like and the vibe, the next level. So we're going to be sold in all the concession stands at, I think 4 of the concession stands at the stadium, the IG Stadium this summer for the season, and fueling the Bombers. And that's huge if you think about that, right? We weren't going to get into something like that with a clear package with a sticker and a label. We just weren't, and that's reality, and that was totally fine. Wasn't the goal for us. We wanted to grow up. I always say that was like our baby stage and a little toddler, and now we're kind of like teening it, and we'll go into adulthood at some point. Crank's only 8 years old, so we got tweaks to make and new flavors to develop, and you never know, it's gonna mature into the next iteration of it. But I'm really excited for where we are right now.
That's awesome.
That's great.
What's your favorite flavor?
I'm really boring. The chocolate gluten-free, believe it or not, the plant-based bar is one of my favorite bars.
Really?
Yeah, my tummy's not always the best, and it's like plant-based, and it's gluten-free, dairy-free. It's like everyday bar. I can say it's been over 10 years that I've been formulating and eating. I usually have one every single day, and I really do look forward to it. It tastes great. I don't look at it going, oh, there's my product. It's a source of fuel for myself, my family, my friends, strangers, so like athletes, like everybody. It's crossing all lifestyles, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done.
Yeah, it's incredible. Congratulations again.
And thank you guys. Oh my goodness, it's nice being back here and seeing you in person. We Zoom because it was COVID.
It was COVID.
We were Zooming.
Yeah.
Zooming the
right.
whole time. I never got to see Leanne in person.
The famous digital meetings.
And she's always so professional, good and smart and organized, and I'm not. Oh my gosh. I always trusted you would have everything, the answers. And that's like, thank you for that peace of mind from a small business owner.
It was our pleasure, for sure.
Cheryl, do you have any words of wisdom for entrepreneurs coming up in the food industry, the health and wellness industry, something that they should consider? That
don't wait as long as I did. Just don't. It's like a fear thing. You're not sure what to do. Reach out to me. I can guide you over to these amazing guys here. And I've referred a lot of small businesses that are ready for market, going the next level and unsure what to do. And I think that's really important, is don't be afraid of it. You're in good hands here. Your label's going to look awesome. It's going to be compliant. People here are great. And spend the money now. And then once you do the basic, everything else is just an add-on and a tweak. And you come up with a new flavor. The base is already there. So, yeah, don't wait as long as I do. Yeah, get it done.
For everyone listening, where can they find out more about Cranked Energy?
You can follow us on social media at Cranked Energy, our website, www.crankedenergy.com. You can order online. We ship across Canada, all the major retailers, Sobeys, Safeway, Save-On, Popeyes, Vita Health. I can go on and on. Carry them in the grab-and-go fresh refrigerated section. And, yeah, other provinces, watch for us. We're coming. We're coming your way.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. Well, thank you both so much for your time. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Leanne.
And thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time. Thanks. Thanks for listening to the SNI Podcast. To learn more about SNI and receive even more resources to help you reach your business goals, including information on regulatory compliance, clinical trials, and creative solutions for the natural health and food industries, follow us at Source-Nutraceutical-Inc. on LinkedIn. You can also visit our website at sourcenutra.com. Thanks again, and see you next time.